Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the day. Today we'll be looking at some lab how to configure a layer 2 switch. So in today's lab will be to configure a L2 switch. Yeah, because a lot of people don't actually know how to configure the layer 2 switch. What are the things that we are going to look at? We have some few configuration which we'll implement on the switch. So we just open our packet tracer. This is our packet tracer already open. So we look for a switch, a layer 2 switch. We just come to this subsection. I've already introduced how to use packet tracer. If you've not watched it, just I will leave the link on this video where you can go and watch the video where we've introduced packet tracer and how you can navigate around your packet tracer. So this is the layer 2 switch. Okay, I'm just going to drag it and then drop it over here. And the first thing you have to do is just click on this router. It will open this interface and then you go to the CLI mode. You can see the interface, the switch is booting. It is done booting. So we land to our first mode, which is the user mode. And from the user mode, I'll just move to the privilege mode by tapping enable. And this is the privilege mode. From the privilege mode, I'll now move to the global mode by typing configure terminal. Yeah, so this is how you move from the user mode, privilege mode to the global mode. So this is the global mode. So what are the things that can be performed on this global mode? Okay, so the layer 2 switch actually that does not really take much configuration. It just serves as an intermediary device between the end device and the router. For instance, if I want to connect my end device, I'll just come to the end device and get a laptop over here, and then I can also use my router on this side. Okay, so I'll go for this router, bring it over here, then do the connection. I will have a connection from here, connect the Giga, and then here connect from the end device, and then I'll go to layer 2 switch. Alright, so as I said, it just serves as an intermediate device between the end device and then your layer 3 device, which is the router. But we have some few configuration which we can also perform on this particular interface. For instance, we can change the name of the switch by using host name, and we type name maybe SW1. So the name of the switch will change. And the advantage with this devices is that there is a way to check the various configuration which can be performed in a particular mode. How do we do it? Just press question mark. You see, question mark will display all the command which you can perform in a particular interface. So you can see it starts over here. So these are some of the commands that you can configure on the layer 2 switch. For more, you just press on enter. It will display the rest of the configuration which can be performed on this one. Yeah, so if you've thought of maybe assigning an IP address to a layer 2 switch, take note, it is not possible to assign an IP address to a particular interface, because if I should pick one of the interface, let's say interface of fast 01 over here, and try to assign an IP address, believe me, it's not going to work. IP address, you see, it's not even helping, because if I force it IP address, let's say 10.0.0.1 and then subnet mask 0.0.0, I will get an invalid message, because the ports by default, it is not meant to receive an IP address. In the 2 switch interface cannot receive an IP address. But there's a way to actually assign an IP address. How do you do it? You then need to go to the VLAN. As you all know, the switch has one broadcast domain, and then the collision domain depends on the interface. So you go to the domain and then assign the IP address to that particular domain. How do you get access to the domain? I'll first of all go to my privilege mode. Okay, so this is the privilege. If I type show VLAN brief, for instance, this one displays the interfaces which exist on this switch, and you see how they are presented. let's look at them over here. You see all these interfaces are assigned to what? To the domain. So what I have to do is that if I want to assign an IP address, then it has to be assigned on this domain. And you can see if it is assigned on this domain, which is the VLAN 1, it will reflect on what? On all the interfaces. Let's try and then see how it's done. So we'll go to the global mode again. We'll go to the global mode and type interface. This time around, we are not going to use any specific interface. We are not going to use the domain, which is VLAN 1. We can even use question mark to see what are the options available. You can see Ethernet, fast Ethernet, Giga Ethernet, port channel, VLAN. So we will pick the VLAN and then we select the VLAN ID, which is VLAN 1. You can see the mode has changed from the global mode, which was presented like this, to the interface mode. So this is our interface mode. And we can now assign an IP address. IP address, let's say 10.0.0.1. And then followed by the subnet mask 255.0.0.0. We validate and then we run no shutdown. Okay, so you can see now this particular IP address has been assigned to the VLAN 1. Okay, it has been assigned to the VLAN 1. So if I assign a particular IP address to my end device and try pinging this one, I'm supposed to get the feedback from it. Let's try. I'm going to assign an IP address to this end device. We all know how it's done. Okay, so let's say 10.0.0.0.2. Okay, so because the .1 has already been used, so we'll try pinging from here. We insert the ping 10.0.0.1. You see, let's see if I'll be able to get the response. Let's wait. Yeah, so it's what it is responding. So I can now ping from my end device. I can ping the IP address which I've assigned to the VLAN 1. What else can I do in layer 2 switch? Okay, so let's look at if this IP address has reflected to the rest of the interfaces. So let's try it. Let's do this. I show IP interface. So let's look at the IP addresses. If it has reflected to this. Okay, so you can see this is VLAN 1. So VLAN 1 is now considered as an interface, and it is saying it is up. Line protocol is also up, and the IP address is 10.0.0.1. This is just a broadcast address. This is the MTU, which is the default MTU on an interface. Yeah, so let's check the rest of the interface and see how they are. So okay, so yeah, so this actually what we wanted to see. Okay, so our configuration has been what reflected to the VLAN ID, which is now being considered as the VLAN address. So what are the things that you can also do with VLAN with layer 2 switch? Some of the things that you can do with layer 2 switch is to also create what VLAN. I can create the VLAN with the layer 2 switch. We'll have a video where we'll study the VLAN and then also configure the VLAN. So if you want to see the various configuration which can be performed on a particular mode, the easiest way to do it is just use question mark. See, this is the privilege mode. I just use question mark, and you see I have everything over here. Clear, and the good thing is that when you have the command, you have the description of it. So if you don't know, you can just read from the description, and believe me, you're gonna understand it because it's not that difficult. And you can see our copy. This is the command we use when we want to copy our configuration. And the debug is if you want to debug for you to check some of the information which is being exchanged between devices. And we have delete if you want to delete a file. We have dir if you want to display some file. Disable, you can also disable some privileges. Disconnect. So actually, when you create a user and then you limit some privileges, for instance, you assign privilege 1. The privilege 1 does not give much privilege to the user. It means the user won't be able to perform some of the command. Okay, we have enable erase if you want to erase. So let's say something. We have changed the name of my switch. which is now SW1. So I've not saved it because if I check show running, this is the RAM mode. If I check, I have my configuration. You can see the name. The name is over here. Okay, the name is over here. And now let me check if the configuration is saved in NVRAM. Show startup config. You can see the message we have over here is that startup config is not present. So how can I save it? I'm now going to use the copy command, which is this particular command to copy from the RAM to the NVRAM. How am I going to do it? I'll just use copy running startup config, and you can see that's copied. If I check show startup config, I now have the same configuration which I had in my RAM. So now, if let's say you want to reset the device, okay, you want to take away the configuration which you've performed on the device, what can you do? I can now erase my NVRAM. I will use erase. The NVRAM is being represented by the startup config. So I'll erase the startup config. I'll just continue. Okay, so I have the message erase of NVRAM complete. So what can I do now? I need to reload the device. What can I do to restart the device? I'll just type reload and then press enter to ask me if I want to continue the process. I will say yes, I will confirm and say now it is restarting. Just hold on for some second. It is restarting. It is restarting. Just some second. Yeah, you can see I've now cleared the configuration. So anytime you are working on a device and then you want to clear the whole configuration, I'm not just talking about a wrong command which you've typed, but you want to clear the configuration on the switch. For instance, you just use erase, and this erase can be applied on all the network devices which you have over here. So you can see now everything is gone. So I have to start all over again. Yeah, so as I said, question mark, and we have all the options, and we have the exit takes you one step backward, and then we have the logout. The logout, if there's a session established, you can use the logout, okay, to take you out of the session. And we have more. We also have the no disable debugging. Yeah, so if you want to disable the debugging, you just use no. Ping if you want to ping your device, reload if you want to restart the device. This is what we just performed right now. Resume setup, we can show here. The show command helps you to check the configuration, whatever you've configured on your device. Let's continue with more. We have SSH, which is a remote protocol. For you, to be able to connect your network devices via remote sites. And then we have Telnet, which is similar to SSH. It's just that with Telnet, there is no encryption. We have Terminal, Traceroute. Traceroute. This is an important networking tool which you have to know as network engineers, because it traces the route. Okay, it traces where path passes in order for it to be delivered. We have undebug. So if you've run the debugging, the messages are being displayed. You just need to come and run undebug to stop that debugging. And we have write. So write is also another way of saving. Yeah. So instead of you using copy, running, startup, config, sometimes it's long, especially when the lab is that huge. You are running late, and you need to finish up the lab and you don't have time on your side. You can just be using write to copy. Okay, let's use it and see. Let's move to the global mode first, and then change the name, host name. Yeah, I'll use SW-1. Okay, so now let's go and change. These writes normally should be performed in a privilege mode, but then from the global mode I can also do it. What should I do? What the difference between performing the write from the global mode and performing the write from the privilege mode? The difference that the privilege mode is where it's supposed to be run, but then With the global mode, you can just precede the command with do. For instance, do. Okay, let me do this. Do right. You see, it has what? It has written into my NVRAM. So building configuration. How can I check? I can also check from here. I'll just use do. Okay, so any configuration or let's say any command which is supposed to be performed in the privilege, when you try performing it in a different mode, you make sure you precede the command with do. So if I type do show startup config, you see what I will have. You see I have my configuration. I've been able to save it all. I was supposed to use SW, but then I did the opposite, WS. Okay, no problem. So this is the name which I give to my to my network device, which is a switch. Yeah. So actually, this is how you can configure the switch. Okay, this is how you can configure the switch. So wherever you have over here, the same configuration you have in my RAM. I just copy it from the RAM to the NVRAM. Yeah. So in a way, layer 2 is just an intermediary device. It does not really play a huge role as it plays a role when you want to let's say break down an existing domain into smallest domain. For instance, here I have show VLAN brief. For instance, this one displays what all the interfaces, okay, on this particular switch. So now if I decide to create other domain other than the VLAN 1, what can I do now? I have to create the VLANs, and if I create the VLANs, I need to be taking some of the interfaces from the default VLAN to the various domains that I'm going to create, and that's where the layer 2 switch actually comes in play and plays a huge role. Apart from the VLANs, it does not really play a huge role. In fact, anytime you want to configure something, as I told you, you can just check the various configurations which can be performed in a particular mode. If I even exit from the user mode, okay, let me exit from the user mode, and you see this the user mode. What are the commands which can be performed over here? Just use question mark, and then I have some of the command. Connect, if you want to connect like through SSH or Telnet. Disable, disconnect, enable. This is the command which helps to move to the privilege. We have the logout, we have the ping, resume, show, SSH, Telnet. Yeah, in a way you can. Okay, if you want to see the version, I think this is also where you run it. Just use show, you use question mark, and then this is what I have, right? You just show version, for instance, show version. You see it will display the version which you are running. So this is the image, the Cisco switch image which I'm running, and then yeah. So this is actually how you can do it. Anytime you type a command, you have a possibility to check what are the following command which can be added in that particular mode. By just pressing question mark, you see all of them display. The same thing I did over here. The same thing I did over here. Where is it there? The same thing I did over here. So this is where I had all these commands, right? You can even check your privileges here. You can even check the privileges. So show privileges. You see my current privilege is what is 1. This is my current privilege, which is 1. It means in this privilege, in this mode, I can only disconnect. Let me type disconnect and see. It will disconnect. Okay, it has to be added with some parameters. So disconnect the number of an active network connection. So when you're using a disconnect, you need to provide the network connection number. In this case, I don't have any number. Okay, so this is the privilege as I said, and then this is how you can disconnect the session. And then you need to provide the session. If there's no session, it won't be possible for you, to disconnect. So there are so many things that can be done with the layer 2, but then they are not, let's say, that common. In fact, if you want, as I said earlier on, if you want, yeah. So this is history, for instance. Okay, let me check this. How is it? History. Okay, now this is not how it is that history. Oh no, it won't work. It won't work because it's not even giving me help. It won't even give me the help. Yeah, so yeah, and we also know that the two switch, a switch in general guarantees the delivery of the message using what's a MAC address table. So the switch performs the switching based on the MAC address table. How do you check your MAC address table? You just need to go to your privilege mode. So this is the privilege mode, which I show MAC address table, and then this is where you have your MAC address table. So anytime there's communication, you see this MAC address table will get populated. What do we have? We have this column, we save the MAC address of the device sending. This will be the type of communication, if it is static or dynamic. And over here, you have the port number where the device is connected. So let's consider this scenario. Don't just look at the connection between the switch and the router. Let's just look at the LAN side. So let me add another device over here, and the device, I'll add another laptop, or add another laptop over here. So let me connect these two other laptops and see how it's going to be. Okay, so I'll connect over here. Okay, so what I will do is I need to assign the IP address. Remember, on the VLAN 1 over here, I've assigned .1, which was 10.0.0.1, and then here I've assigned .2. Here I'm going to assign .3, so that will be 10.0.0.3. Yeah, and then I'm going to assign .4 to the other side. The other side will take .4, so that will be 10.0.0.0.4. All right. So now, what can I do? As I said earlier on, we just want to see if the MAC address will be populated, because now that we check the MAC address is empty. Yeah, so there is a configuration. There's something that we initiated. I don't know which MAC address it is, but then what I know of is what is a port 3. Okay, so let's look at the port 3. So the third one, so the third one, I think has initiated in communication. I don't know how, but the MAC address table has populated small. All right. So now let's do something. Let's from fast01, which is this device, let's ping this device, which is 10.0.0.3, because this one has the IP address of 10.0.0.2, 10.0.0.3, and 10.0.0.4. All right. So let's ping. Let's ping 10.0.0.3. Okay, so the ping is what is going through. Now let's go and check our MAC address table. If we check show MAC address table, we can see now we have what I have: the fast01 and then fast02. These are the two devices which have initiated communication, and the MAC address will learn to work dynamically, and then these are what their MAC addresses. You can also check these MAC addresses to confirm. What can we do? Go to the first device, which is connected to fast01. Okay, let me do this. So how can I check the configuration? I'll just use IP config space -/all. Okay, so look at this. Okay, let's look at the physical. Let's look for the physical address. Yeah, so this is the physical address we have. A 0030.83642B39. So let's check what we have over here. Okay, 0030.83642B38. So this is the same thing I have. I can also check for this one. What I will do is I'm actually going to do the same thing. I'll just type IP config space/all. I'll have my, you see it is giving me the configuration of this machine. is the physical address 0090 2BA2 D649. Let me just look at it over here. Yeah, it is the same thing I have. So this is actually how the MAC address table get populated when there's a communication between devices. But the information you have over here is not going to be stored permanently, just for some time. If there's no communication after some times, so what's happening is that this MAC address table will just reset itself until a new communication is what is being initiated. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to share with you guys. If you found the video informative, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also share the video to the maximum. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.